right, everybody. It's another episode of Drew and Juice. I'm Andrew Badal. That is Juice Springsteen. A lot going on in the world of professional wrestling and sports entertainment. We got the Four Nations.
You don't say, Drew.
We got the Four Nations going on right now. The USA and Canada hockey game. We'll keep you updated through that. But again, right. I'm Andrew Badal. That is Juice Springsteen. We're going to talk all things professional wrestling and sports entertainment. We're going to talk about The Rock and what his involvement with WrestleMania could or could not be. There was a lot of news surrounding that today. We're going to talk about what Jonathan Coachman said on his show today about Shane McMahon and Tony Khan. I have some statements from some people who would know directly, and we're going to talk about other things. We're going to talk about last night's Dynamite. We're going to talk about Grand Slam Australia. We're just here to talk professional wrestling and take your live questions as we get set for another episode of Drew and Juice. Juice, how the hell are you?
Yeah, I'm pretty good, man. I almost wanted to start up by saying, so what do you want to talk about? Today seemed pretty quiet for a while, and then all of a sudden, chaos here, chaos there. We discussed how we'd be going up against the Four Nations game. And little did we know we'd have a wrestling show earlier in the day that might take over that. So I'm here to talk about it on our wrestling show. So
right now, the United States of America is losing to Canada 1-0. McKinnon got the Canadians off and running early. So we'll have to wait and see. But shout out to Corey Saunders. What's up, Corey? Tay, always good to hear from you.
Oh, yeah.
Frank, this is my weekly show that I look forward to. You know what, Frank? Hey. We appreciate that very, very much.
Appreciate anybody coming out and supporting this little garage show we've got running here.
Oh, would love Garage. If they want to send me some more beer, I'd love it. So
I have not gotten to try it yet, but I want to. I know the major wrestling figure pod guys now are with them. I always loved PBR, so when they went with PBR, I was like, great, don't have to change anything. Well, but they went with Garage Beer now for one reason or another, and I'm looking forward to trying that. And they've made the lime seem very good, so I'm kind of.
So I've had both,
as you know.
Yeah, I've had both. They're both very tasty beverages. I'm a Miller Lite guy. I'm a Modelo guy.
What about Miller High Life?
Yeah, okay, whatever. Okay. I mean, I mess with it.
It's not whatever. Miller Lite, Miller High Life,
the champagne and beers.
They're all different.
I will say that I was given a 12-pack of Garage, the beer-flavored beer version, just the beer. And it was good. It was very, very good. And I will say that I really dug the lime as well. That's stocked in my fridge right now. It's kind of my go-to, so we'll have to wait and see. Catherine says, thanks for the distraction. I lost my father a week ago. Catherine, I am sorry to hear that. Our condolences are with you and your family. Sure. May your father rest in peace.
And thanks for checking us out to, lighten up your mood potentially. Wrestling should be for anybody who wants an escape from reality, which is why, at some point, I'm sure we'll talk about some negative discourse. And that's where I hate that it's in here. Why does that have to be in here when wrestling is supposed to get us out of that,
316 MMA says, what do you think about the news about the women of WWE that are upset with booking? Why don't we just take it one topic at a time? Your questions as Juice guzzles some orange juice. It's like cannibalism. Oh, it's energy, Arizona.
Once again.
Yeah. So we'll get to that. We'll get to all this stuff. We will we'll answer your questions live. That's what this is about. So Ben says Friday afternoon here in Sydney, Australia, my favorite. Thanks. We appreciate that. B says, I'm a Stella Artois. You know what? Stella's good. Okay. I like Peroni. I know Stella's Belgian and Peroni's Italian, but I really do. I like me some Peroni. So let's get off the beer and food. Let's talk
about beer of the month.
Yeah. Let's get off the beer and the food. Let's talk some wrestling, shall we?
Let's talk some wrestling. Let's get into there's a lot of different things. I feel like everybody wants to talk about something happened today. So let's just kind of dive into that and we'll see where it takes us because
sure.
If we talk about AEW at all, it could lead into what happened at Grand Slam. It could lead into Dynamite. It could lead into anything. So kind of grew up in Mount Washington. So even though he lives in Vegas, he loves the Berg. Hey, it's great everywhere down here in Pittsburgh, Mount Washington, of course, a lot of great restaurants, great overlook of the city. And I'd be remiss if I didn't say, rest in peace to one of the greatest announcers in the history of hockey, Mike Lang, who passed away last night, who, 46 years in the booth for the Pittsburgh Penguins. He, just is a folk hero, for lack of a better term. Great catchphrases and did it all. So thinking about him as well. But yeah, Mount Washington's a great spot. A lot of people will propose and get prom pictures and all sorts of things up in Mount Washington. So
really,
that's the touristy spot. I mean, it's a great overlook of the whole city, but
all right.
So
all right, what do you want to lead with, buddy?
Let's get into, the news at hand. I'm kind of just flipping through Twitter earlier today, and I saw that you had, is it aggregated or reported or whatever, you knew and heard from the earlier Coach and Bro show, which had a different bro on it, your former bro, JD. Him and Mr. Jonathan Coachman were discussing Tony Khan, stuff like that. You put it out there that in one sort of way, Tony Khan might have ghosted Shane McMahon in regards to, Shane wants this or this in regards to if he wants to work with AEW. So, Drew, I'll give the floor to you. And, no one likes being ghosted, so I'm sure Shane didn't take it very well. But
real quick,
go ahead.
Does this sound?
Start talking again?
Because somebody told me I sounded like I was in a can, which is I appreciate.
Right now, yeah, you're like, okay.
It sounds better.
All right. Right now, yeah.
All right. Because I hate when stuff doesn't go the right way. I have an expensive microphone. I pay for good quality equipment, and if for some reason it doesn't work, I'm not a fan. So I'm glad we got that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Glad we got that figured out. Your question is one of, go ahead, repeat it. I'm sorry.
Well, no, just, nobody likes being ghosted. So I'm sure Shane McMahon, didn't appreciate it, but it is interesting. I was going to ask you, you can talk about the whole thing, but I was going to ask you from my perspective, let's say that happened. Like Shane might've reached out, but Tony was like, nah. Do you think that happened before or after that photo of those two came out?
So here's my take on the whole situation, because this was the one thing I had a little bit of issue with. First of all, I have no problem with Jonathan Coachman. I don't have a problem with anybody. I like Coach.
Yeah.
He's always been nice to me in the few times that I've met him in the few moments. So when Coach said this on his show, there was some validity to it, obviously, but the whole ghosting thing threw me for a loop, because I don't believe that that's what happened. I believe that Tony and Shane McMahon absolutely had a meeting because of the picture that was circulating. And I think that picture was put out on purpose, number one, whether it was by Tony or by Shane, whomever. And no one's going to tell me any differently, because that type of picture at a private airport is tough to not have leak, especially when there's only a couple people in the room. So with that being said, do I think when Coach said on his show today that Shane asked for equity in the company, I absolutely believe that to be true. I said that many, many months ago.
Why not? Why wouldn't he ask anything? If it gets shut down, sure, but why might as well ask?
This is something that, yeah, exactly right. Why would Shane not ask Tony for the sun, the moon, and the stars? Because at the end of the day, if Tony only comes back with the moon, then at least he tried, So that's exactly what you do. You lead with that in negotiations. You always aim high and see what happens. So at the end of the day, do I believe that Shane asked for equity? Yes, I do. Do I believe it was probably a large equity stake? Yes, I do. And I don't believe that Tony was ever going to allow not only Shane, but anybody to come in and take a large equity stake in the company unless he was going to go public. And I have asked Tony numerous times, is the plan to go public with All Elite Wrestling? And he has denied it every single time. No, it is not. I want to keep this in my family. We want to remain private. Now, everything could change. So when I first heard about Tony and Shane McMahon meeting, I had a funny feeling that Shane asked for equity. The other stuff that Coach said, I had never heard, that Tony Shane wanted Tony to give him control of this, that, and everything else, which again, smart ask on Shane, but Tony obviously is not going to release that, because if you think about it, Tony took back control from the Bucks, Cody, which might have led to his departure, and some others where Tony was kind of like the person in control. So he's not just going to hand it off to Shane, in my opinion. Not a bad ask for Shane. The thing that threw me for a loop with Coach's statement is that Tony ghosted Shane McMahon. So you mean to tell me after the conversation that Tony just said, I'm just not going to reach out? That's not how Tony operates. I could tell you that firsthand. I could see Tony saying, we're not interested in this. And then sending, Shane a text or maybe called Shane or whatever, email. I don't know.
Right. But any response is not ghosting.
Correct.
Ghosting implies that I'm not only not going to do the deal with you or work with you, but I'm not going to let you know that. And maybe someone else lets you know, but I'm done communicating.
Correct.
I don't see that as, I don't know either of those individuals, but I would wager that wouldn't be how they do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Tell her, what is it? Tell a wrestler.
Tell a friend, tell a phone, tell a friend, tell a wrestler. Yeah.
So here's the deal, right? I'm sure Coach has gotten that from somebody, or maybe Coach wanted to portray a narrative that, I don't know, plays a certain side. Realistically, what this showed me is a couple things. A, Tony was very smart to not pass equity. Shane was very smart to ask for it. I said that a long time ago. If he's going to come into this company, Shane McMahon, it's a smart ass. Number one, the McMahon name, although the Vince McMahon name is not something you currently want to be associated with, the McMahon name in business is still going to hold a ton of weight, whether it's Stephanie or Shane or Linda. So Tony and Shane having a meeting, I could see where Tony thought might have been mutually beneficial, et cetera, et cetera. I'm not going to ever rule out that Shane and AEW won't do business together, but I don't believe that Shane would get an equity stake in the company because at the end of the day, in my opinion, Tony will always want to be 51% majority owner of this company, no matter what happens, because he doesn't want to lose control.
Right.
You see what happened with Vince McMahon. And go ahead.
Sorry. I'm sorry. I was just going to say, do you think though, do you think Tony at all would care about the optics of a company that he put out being like, we're not them. We're the antithesis
Shane
of them.
is everything that Vince McMahon is not. I can tell you that right now.
So you don't think Tony would care of the optics that a McMahon working in AEW would mean negativity because it's Shane? People could look past that, because if you just tell someone, well, AEW wanted to be the anti-WWE or just the competitor, what have you, but they also have a McMahon, people could look at that from an outside perspective and say, well, that's very hypocritical. And but good business is good business.
I don't think
I was also going to say that I think Coach and Shane, aren't they more linked and aren't they friends?
I have no idea. None. I could tell you that every time that I've met Shane, hung out with Shane, he is the complete opposite of how Vince is in terms of very to himself, very with his inner circle, and that's it. Vince is very behind closed doors, whereas Shane was out hanging out, drinking wine, doing what Shane is very social. Yeah. So I don't think that Shane coming into AEW, if it ever happened, would be looked at as a black eye for AEW, because there has been numerous reports and numerous things that have gone out in the news outlets, media markets, that Shane and Vince just don't get along and they're two completely opposite people. So I think, and again, the whole stuff with Vince, I'm not going to sit here and dog Vince McMahon because I don't know Vince. I was never around that type of stuff. I also didn't work for WWE. So I wouldn't have any sort of inside knowledge on how Vince McMahon operates as a boss. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you this or that. Do I think what Vince did was absolutely horrendous? Yeah. Heinous? Yeah. But do I think that Vince McMahon also has a lot to do with what we're doing today? Yes, I do. So,
it's a tough line to navigate. And, Michael Cole got some flack for even saying, I can't disparage the man professionally, which I understand. He means that without that guy, if you just say that guy, whoever this person is, whether it's Vince or whoever, this particular person got me this position, opened the door, and I became, the voice of WWE because of it, I would have a tough time disparaging that guy professionally as well. But you got to be able to separate that from the personal individual.
I don't have first and foremost, I have no I don't condone any of the things that Vince McMahon did, nor am I supporting it. It's disgusting. And it's horrible, but I'm going to tell you this right now. I know people who worked there who were very close to Vince who had no idea what the hell was going on, because I would tell you
that a few more than that probably didn't have any idea.
It's always the people who, are very close to Vince, besides the people who are named, who have no idea what's going on. Either way, I don't think Shane coming into AEW would have had a negative connotation or a negative, like effect with AEW. It's a McMahon, it's Shane. This is the first McMahon to jump out of the family business, quote unquote, and really challenge the WWE, because that's what AEW is. They're challenging WWE. So no, I don't think it would have met any negative connotation or any negative feedback. But I will say that the thing, again, the ghosting thing is just not how that operated. And I was told that's not what happened. And I could see that, because I don't think that Shane and Tony would have had a conversation and Tony just left that meeting and never talked to Shane again. I don't believe that to be the case, and I still don't believe it today. And I was told again,
you
clarified
in your tweet, I know, about what, any further news from that. And I know Sean Ross Sapp, found his sources and talked and discussed that as well. And then I also saw Coach was seemingly not pleased that, they weren't directly credited when you directly credited them. And in Fightful's report, they said Andrew Baydala credited the Coach and Bro show. So,
Sean very good at that. He'll always, tag me and stuff like that. And I also, I'm not a journalist, people. I'm not.
You're an opinionist.
Right.
We know.
And Coach said it. I thought it was very,
and you tagged him.
Yeah. And I thought it was very, very like newsworthy. And I was like, this is new elements to this story that no one's ever heard or can confirm. Did I think again that Shane asked for equity? Yes, I did. Did anybody tell me that? No, they didn't. And again, I asked around and they said, take some of that with a grain of salt, but most of it is true. And, with that being said, I mean, again, Coach isn't making stuff up with the equity and everything else like that, but the ghosting him, I've heard is inaccurate. And I also, if that tweet was about me, I 100%, I don't know what more I could have done.
I don't think it was about you. I think Coach mentioned like how like I think it was critiquing Fightful being a site that to pay
Fightful
for.
Credited Coach too.
I know, and that's what Sean put it out there, being like, this is exactly what it was, and it said Andrew Baydala quoted that the Coach, like he literally just referenced exactly what you said. So I don't know how.
I'm gonna say this: never say never with Shane McMahon and AEW. I think Shane could absolutely come in as a performer, maybe with a little bit of help in backstage with storylines and stuff like that. Shane getting equity. If it's me, I'm not giving Shane more than 4% equity in my company, and he has no veto power, none. He wants to invest, fine. But if I'm Tony, I think this is, and a lot of people dog Tony, but I'm going to tell you this: I think this was the smart play, because you can't just let some guy with a lot of money come in with a big name and just be like, hey, I want to take over the company, or I want a large equity stake. Again, that's something I asked. I was met with, I have no idea what the equity would be. The only person that would know that would be Tony and Shane. And Tony, wasn't going to comment on the situation. He said, I'm good. So,
and I'm glad that you brought up, that it was a good call by Tony, because I was going to have a two-pronged thing of, I felt that again, not disparaging you or Coach or anybody involved with it, but the phrasing of ghosting Shane McMahon sounds very sensationalized, and it's hey, we love puns here, a very juicy way of phrasing it.
Sure.
And almost all the quotes from your tweet that were quoted were like, great call by Tony. Look at Tony finally putting his foot down, things like of that. And it was turned into a very positive thing, even if maybe not exactly what happened. The sentiment of, well, either way, if at least the Shane wants equity thing was accurate to an extent, Tony saying, nah, we're good, is enough for fans to kind of back him, which is, somewhat nice to see after how many negative things are thrown out there about AEW. Yeah. And I'm sure we'll talk about some of those things later on as well, because it's quite frankly ridiculous. So,
well, and here's the thing, right? A lot of people, in my opinion, are always like, you're Tony's boy and all this other stuff. At the end of the day, Tony's been nothing but nice and courteous to me. The other thing is that Tony, everybody makes Tony out to be some sort of like moron. Tony is not a moron. I understand that's the perception, that Tony Khan is just some big dumb idiot. He's not.
With a neck brace.
Right. He's not. I mean, Tony he might not be your cup of tea. He might not be your prototypical wrestling promoter. Okay. but he's not a moron.
He's a fan. We talked about that a couple of weeks ago of like, it's almost a negative to come off as not the macho guy that runs the company. Like, he's just like any other fan, but he's in a different position and a business guy too.
I have no reason to stand on business for defending Tony. I have none. Tony he's not hiring me. He's not bringing me in. I'm not currently working for AEW. The only thing
on this show,
the only thing I'll tell you is that I judge people by the way that they treat others and the way that they treated me. Absolutely. And I could see certain things. And Tony's a first-class dude. I understand he's not your typical, like I said, wrestling promoter. He's not your typical, like, if you want to call it a quote unquote businessman, he's different in terms of that, but Tony's not an idiot, and he's a kind-hearted dude. So,
yeah, I mean, again, people that don't know other people and then never actually meet them, never get a chance to, are only going to see that from an outside perspective. And
sure.
if they do anything in the realm of, well, I don't agree with it, therefore I don't like them, they're this, they're that, even though I've never met them, it's ridiculous. And, you've had interactions with them, so it's easy to come from a first person perspective. You've had interactions, what this guy is. It's not like you're in the offices with him, but you've had enough to where you could clearly see. It doesn't take an idiot to realize that.
In my opinion, Tony's always got to be on guard, right? Because if you look at this situation with him and Shane, it seems like Shane was trying to pounce. And I'm not dogging on Shane McMahon for being a shrewd businessman, but at the end of the day,
do what he needs to do.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it seems like everybody wants something from Tony, whether it's a job or whether it's access or whether it's this or whether it's that. Everybody wants something from Tony, and he makes himself readily accessible for most of the time. He responds to fans on Twitter. Sometimes he'll come at fans on Twitter. He's readily accessible, but at the end of the day, you could like or dislike whomever you want, but at the end of the day, for me, it seems like a lot of people are envious. And Tony's got to be on guard 24/7 because everybody and their mother's got their hat out asking for something or their hand out asking for something.
As Stone Cold once said, DTA, don't trust nobody.
Right.
Yeah, and that's, I would be the same way. If I had a bunch of money and I was running this company and is, 5-ish years in, sure, people start talking about it. You start losing talent. You start gaining talent. Things are starting to really settle in as we're AEW. We're moving ahead. We got to deal with WBD, all these things. There's a lot of moving parts. You have to be on guard, whether people like it or not. Like, you have to, and especially as a private company, you are defending the company, but you're defending your family and your own personal wealth. Like, your dad runs, like, you're so ensconced and entrenched in multiple huge entities. Yep. Your soccer, football, pro wrestling, like, you got to stand on guard for that. You can't let anybody just walk in because, you let the wrong person in, they'll take advantage of you. Give them an inch, they'll take a mile. You can't let that happen.
Yeah. And again, Shane McMahon and AEW, I'm not ruling it out, but again, I was told take Coachman's comments with a grain of salt and realize that everything that I was told and everything that I believe, I think it's a smart move. Tony should never give up equity in the company unless it's something that he is looking to take public, and it doesn't seem like Tony ever wants to do that. So again, here we are, but I'm happy this news got out because I just want the whole Shane McMahon and AEW stuff to kind of dissipate, because it's always like Shane's behind the Death Riders, and it's like, guys, can we just get off from it?
Maybe, at the very, very beginning when like, oh, this could pay off, like, who's the benefactor, but it's been months, and almost to a detriment. I know a lot of people are kind of, and I'm on the boat. I'm kind of waiting for this to turn over to a new thing. I don't know whether it was supposed to be Darby or Orange Cassidy to be the guy to stop the Death Riders. And I don't know if it's, the Mount Everest thing getting in the way or other injuries getting in the way or whatever. But I think it's not even run its course. It's just, it hasn't done much to me. And we'll get into Dynamite. Hangman and MJF are not going for a title, yet it was the most captivating thing on Dynamite. Like, that should tell you something. When your world champion comes out and everybody's like, well, is this it? Like, what else are we doing?
There's a lot to discuss about Dynamite.
Yeah.
Which we'll get into.
Yeah.
Let's stay on AEW though.
Let's keep going.
I thought Grand Slam was a really good show. I put that out. I thought the Tony Storm thing was winning the championship was the right call. Tony being the champion
and
now,
main evented.
yeah, which had to happen in my opinion.
Yep.
I thought that was the right call for me. What is next for Tony? It almost seemed like when Tony cut her promo, I was like, okay, we're kind of moving away from Mariah May, and it seems like maybe we can go towards Mercedes Moné. But we see now that Mercedes retained her title at Grand Slam Australia against Harley Cameron, which I thought was going to happen, but it seems like they're not going to Moné because Moné is going to be in a match with Momo and at Revolution at the Crypto.com arena. And for me, I want to, stop there for a quick second. A lot of people came for my head and my neck and the rest of my body because they were like, how come you don't want to see another match of the year candidate? And it's like, listen, I understand that Moné and Momo are going to have a fantastic bell-to-bell match. There is
and be very careful if they have a wonderful match that the Stephanie Vaquer thing doesn't happen again.
Right. Well, maybe. But anyways,
you never know.
I get it. I totally get it. And it is going to be a very good match. And I have nothing against either competitor. But for me, Momo is going to go her way and Mercedes is going to go back to AEW.
Yeah.
And we're going to be left here with nothing to sink our teeth into. And that is the problem for me with the entire TBS championship run that Mercedes has had. It's a lot of start and stops. Willow. Stat.
It's like one match and they're done. And it comes off as, all right, who does Moné want to beat next? Like they're never, even if she loses, we are all kind of assuming, well, when's that rematch for her to get it back?
Yeah, I want something for us to sink our teeth into with the TBS championship and Moné. And listen, Moné is a hell of a performer. But for me, this run has not been what I thought it would be. And that's not knocking, the opponents or whatever, but Statlander, I thought that was good that they revisited that feud, but it almost seemed like too little too late at times.
And then Stat's going backwards. She just took a loss. Now,
I will say this. I think we're getting to a point because they're like 200 and some odd days into Moné's run.
Yeah, we're coming up on almost a year here.
I think the goal is for Moné to erase Jade Cargill's longest reign.
Yeah.
And I think that's
the elephant in the room.
Yeah, it's well over. I think Jade's is almost 2 years. So
I'll find that for you.
I have a funny feeling. I want to say it's over 500 and like 80, 90 days, whatever. I think that's where we're headed. So again, Harley Cameron winning the AEW TBS championship is probably not going to happen. But man, I would have liked to have seen a rematch.
All right. 508 days.
508?
And Moné right now at February 20th, 269.
Yes. And I believe that, it's smart on Tony because Jade's gone. And I'm sure they wanted to keep Jade and Jade was just like, no. And we see where Jade is now. So I get it. We can get there with Moné. But at that point, I have a funny feeling Moné is going to be holding not only the TBS championship, but the AEW World Women's Championship, because I do believe at All In, your big money match, if you're not going with Moné and Athena, and you're not going to crown Athena, clearly, because Moné's got to go to past 500 days. If you go Moné and Tony, I think that's a big money match.
Big Moné match.
I'm just saying, I think that could be where we're headed for All In Dallas.
But 500 days, though, Drew?
I mean, they did it with Roman, and I'm not comparing Roman and Moné.
But you did. You are comparing.
I'm just saying
they did it with Roman.
No, I'm just saying if you want to erase something from something, they did it with Gunther too. If you want to erase something.
But Gunther did erase something. What record did Roman erase?
He didn't erase San Martino. He didn't, but he almost erased Hogan. But at the end of the day.
But it was still not a record. Jade's is actually the length of it. Now, I could see a situation where Moné wins, both titles, but then loses the women's, still has the TBS.
Sure.
But I mean, again, I'm not really quick on the math, so I'm gonna do the math.
It's another 365 days, Juice. It's
240 more days. That is an eternity, Drew.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
But do you think they'll really, are they that not? I hate to say petty, but like
it's not petty.
No, that's why. Are they that? I rephrased it. Are they that determined to erase the Jade record?
I think where we're at right now, yes. Now, would I like to see Harley Cameron take the TBS championship off of Monet at Dynasty? I would. Would I like to see Monet and Tony Storm get into a program without the TBS title involved? I would. Will we get there? I don't know. I don't think so. I really don't. And, there was a lot of other things that happened on Grand Slam, which we're going to talk about. But again, the Tony Storm, going over Mariah May was the right call. Monet now with Momo. Again, for me, I would have liked to have seen Harley Cameron, but maybe they'll revisit that. That Revolution card is stacked. We'll get into that a little bit later too. But, Will Ospreay and Kenny Omega defeating Fletcher and Takeshita was a really good match. Great opener. They went with that as a nice lead in from the NBA. I would have went with Monet, but it doesn't matter. That's what they did. Got the crowd off their feet. And man, that match delivered. It was good. I will say to you, for me, and I tweeted this and I even put video out about it. 1-1, by the way, Canada and USA first intermission for those who wanted to keep score.
Oh, they scored late.
Brady Kachuk.
Of course.
So again, the Will Ospreay and Konosuke Takeshita match, I think absolutely will happen again further down the road. I think those two are just a match made in heaven. You're getting now Kenny Omega and Takeshita having this match, and it's obviously happening at Revolution. I don't like the convoluted way this has gone about getting there. Takeshita and Kenny Omega have a ton of history already because of the Callis family and the feud that they're already in. We just should have made the match official for Revolution.
Like his nickname is based off of anti-Kenny. Yeah, Omega and the Alpha. Yeah, right, the Ace. Like it's all. Yeah. Well, the Ace is Tanahashi.
Yeah. Well, doesn't he call himself? I could have sworn
the Alpha.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yes, I'm sorry. You're all right. Yes, I think it's the Alpha. But I've heard Callis call Takeshita.
I'm sure he did. I'm just when you said Ace, I know that Hiroshi Tanahashi I thought was the Ace. Yeah. So who the hell knows?
At the end of the day,
someone will tell us. Someone will correct us out there.
At the end of the day, this feud is already built in. They should just have the match at Revolution. So I think, and the other thing is that Takeshita's got to defeat now Cassidy in San Diego when he's the goddamn champion. That to me was and the winner gets Kenny. Well, I know Kenny's a dog, and Kenny is that guy. But come on.
You know how Tony loves these eliminator, like you got to earn everything. Even if you're the champion, you got to earn your right to defend that title on the pay-per-view.
It's Kenny is not the champion. And with this, it's more convoluted. And I don't, I
get it from a perspective of he's been hurt for a while and then like his career got a year taken away. But like that doesn't necessarily, he's not at the John Cena, I'm going to call my shot and I'm going to be in the chamber match yet. Omega can't just be like, whatever.
You know what this signals to me? Truthfully,
let's hear it.
Kenny's going over at Revolution. He's going to beat Takeshita because the ultimate goal right now is to get to Revolution to take on Kenny. It's not to take on Takeshita. So it's like, what are we doing here? So that, and people are like, oh no, Drew's never critical. I am critical, but I give constructive criticism. I don't just sit here and bash. At the end of the day, that man is holding the championship. That man being Takeshita. Kenny should beat Cassidy next week, and then the winner of that should go to Revolution to take on Takeshita. And I have a funny feeling we're going towards Kenny and Okada at All In, and I think we're going to unify the titles, that being the Continental.
Thank God.
Well, and that's another situation, which we'll get into later, the Continental Classic and the title and everything else like that. Like, it's a ticking time bomb. So for me, it's like, why hold the championship? He just tweeted, The Rock is on SmackDown tomorrow. Okay. Whoa. Is this accurate? Let's find out. The producer here just texted or just put up that this guy said the final boss returns tomorrow. All right, breaking news. We are going We are going to interrupt this right now.
Wow. Yep. People are just saying Cody Rhodes is fucked.
So here's the deal, right? Where is SmackDown next week?
Or this week?
Yeah, this week. Tomorrow. Where the hell is SmackDown?
That's a good question. I don't know. Let's see. Wow. Well, again, and we were going to touch on it anyway, to be honest.
We're going to talk about it right now, though, unfortunately.
Yeah, WWE put it out. WWE two literally just happened.
New Orleans, which is interesting because I fully believe that WrestleMania 41.
They'll just do it all.
Yeah, 42 is going to be there. That could be why The Rock is in the building.
We're announcing WrestleMania. Rock's screwing Cody again. Let's go. We're on the road to WrestleMania, baby.
So here's the deal for me. Let's again, I think the Kenny Omega stuff, I think Kenny and Takeshita, that should be the match at Revolution, but I think that we should have had Kenny defeat Cassidy on the way, and Takeshita should be the final boss of this whole thing. So let's talk about this real quick. We're going to switch gears. We'll get back to AEW.
Yeah, we'll talk about The Rock because I had some topics in regards to WrestleMania and how you thought, we could get Rock and Roman, and how, it being recently shown that The Rock's going to be in a new Martin Scorsese film and like all these things. And everybody's like, well, chalk it up. Rock's not showing up. But now this silences it all. Rock saying he's going to be there. WWE retweeted it.
I don't know if it's silence. I don't know if it silences it all now, Juice. I do want to say that
for now, until tomorrow night, when he either unveils that Mania is in New Orleans,
which I think is very possible.
But Final Boss makes me think he's doing some storyline shiznit.
Possibly. I will tell you this, for me, I have always been steadfast on this. I have constantly hammered this, that I believe that The Rock is working WrestleMania. Do I know his opponent? No. I think it's Roman. I'll sit back and say this, the Scorsese announcement, that film could start shooting in July. What this does,
Rock's not winning a title or anything. So he just has to have the match on April 19th or April 20th. That's it.
And here's the deal, okay? The Rock, what this signals, the Scorsese film for me, what this signals is that The Rock is not working SummerSlam at MetLife Stadium. There's no way, okay? Because he's either going to have to do full promotion or he's going to have to be filming. So I think and it's filming in Hawaii. So Rock's got a ring there, blah, 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 blah. We know it's where he's got a residence. Okay, save it. It doesn't matter. Zip it. Okay? So not you, the fans, who are going to say,
I didn't say anything, so I already was zipping it.
So again, tomorrow in New Orleans, I think The Rock could announce that WrestleMania is coming to New Orleans for next year. But The Rock showing up on WWE TV also lends itself to the whole The Rock is returning to WrestleMania. And I'm going to say this. I do believe that The Rock is going to be involved in WrestleMania 41. I believe his opponent is going to be Roman Reigns. And I believe, like I stated last week, that John Cena will win the Elimination Chamber. If he doesn't, and it's some sort of schmaz like Punk and Cena, okay, I believe you get the old John versus Punk night 1, winner gets Cody night 2. But I can tell you right now, I am under the impression that John Cena and Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns and The Rock are having matches at WrestleMania.
Now, do you think it's out of the realm of possibility for Rock to work both nights?
Yes.
It's out of the realm. You don't think?
He did it last year. He's not going to take the risk again. No way.
Well, he didn't wrestle the second night.
Well, I mean, he got physical, all this other stuff. So for me, I think it's out of the question. It's out of the question.
Because I was good, if I don't know,
listen,
people
Rock
seem to think
nice once, Juice. He played nice once.
I understand, but what people are going to say that like, what's Rock's going to come in and something like Cody's going to get screwed over at a something, and if Cody's not wrestling on night 1, what does that leave? Like, people could speculate maybe Roman or Rock versus Cody on night 1, and you get Punk versus Cena on night 1, and the winners of that, have the match, but then that leaves out Roman. So I'm just saying what I feel like fans will speculate.
Yeah.
Because as soon as this tweet goes out, I'm sure everybody's flooding it. But I would assume, like you get maybe one Cena and Punk, because man, of all the matches outside of Cena Rock 3 that I'd like to see for Cena's farewell, Cena and Punk is number 1 on that list. So having them have a WrestleMania match and the winner would be the guy that takes on Cody on night 2, I think is big business for sure.
Yeah. Listen, I think The Rock is there to obviously handle business. WrestleMania for sure. But I understand a lot of people are like, is CM Punk ever going to get his main event? You know what? Like I said, Rock played nice last year.
Yep.
He's not playing nice again. Okay. If Rock, I believe, and I've said this since they moved the event to Vegas, because it was all lock, stock, and barrel here, and that SummerSlam 2 nights was a make good for the Minnesota, Sports Bureau. So again,
I want to read the press release.
I have it. Go ahead. You can read it. No, read it. No, read it.
It says the final boss returns to SmackDown tomorrow. WWE, part of TKO Group Holdings today announced that Dwayne The Rock Johnson will appear on SmackDown Live from Smoothie King Center in New Orleans tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Strap in, said WWE Chief Content Officer Paul Triple H Levesque. Quote, when the final boss shows up at this time of year, the audience knows absolutely anything is possible. Everything could change in an instant. That right there tells you The Rock is going to wrestle at WrestleMania. Like, that is the most indirect way of telling you the phrasing of at this time of year, aka WrestleMania season. If Rock's inserting himself into something, you could pretty well assume he's going to at least be at the show, if not work at the show. So what capacity remains to be seen. Roman being, quote, injured at the Rumble because of Rollins. He hasn't been on TV. He's not going to be at the Chamber. Although this is nice to have now that we can probably rule out that insanity Punk, Rollins, Roman triple threat that was speculated on early. I'm hopeful that actually doesn't come to fruition now. If The Rock's actually gonna be involved at Mania, so hopefully we could put that to bed, because without stakes, there's no reason for those three to have a match.
I love me some stakes.
I know,
but I will tell you that again, I have remained, even when people who are in the know have stated to me, I'm telling you right now, you're wrong. Rock's not working Mania. I said, okay.
I forgot they have Dwayne on speed dial.
And listen, it's not that. It's just there's been
I know, but
there's been a ton of smoke, and I'm not
more than everybody.
I'm not dogging anybody. I'm not, because that's just not who I am. But I'm not sitting here saying that I got a confirmation, because the only people that would know that are Dwayne, The Rock Johnson, probably Triple H and Nick Khan, and probably the board. So again, what I'm telling you is that all the signs were there, and they were continuously there, and everybody just didn't pick up on it. And then there were times where people were like, we don't know. It seems like it. Okay.
Yeah, I would wager I almost guarantee that he's going to announce the Mania in New Orleans. Like, that makes almost too much sense for him to be at that show, and he'll make a grand announcement, but I think then he'll get down to brass tacks of why he's really there, and then launch into some sort of story based item that whether that leads to Roman or however it is. But
I won't even get into it, because it's just I can't tell you how many people told me I was out of my mind.
Well, we all know you're out of your mind. And you can't tell me you don't put anybody down, considering you shat on me last week for Junk Springsteen. So let's just back off of that for a moment. Call a spade, Andrew Paydala.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. Yeah. You know what? I was met with, bro, let it go, all this other stuff,
Let it go. I know, right? Like, again, until it's April 19th and April 20th, anything can happen in the World Wrestling Federation. Like, why people will think, oh, well, it's like he didn't announce anything yet, therefore it's not happening. We're just randomly Thursday night, boom, Rock's coming. Okay. Like, literally in an instant, everybody is now going to be on board, and everybody's going to be like, oh, I can't wait to see The Rock. And oh, wow, Mania in New Orleans, Rock and Roman this year. How great is everything? And they won't even acknowledge you, Drew, that you had any inkling this could happen. That's exactly how it goes. Person A reports or thinks or says that it could happen. Person B denies it, and then once so much time passes that A was actually correct, B says, nope, you actually didn't say it. You're wrong. Don't you love the internet, Drew?
Yep, I do.
Oh, man. Me too. Big fan of the internet.
Yep.
Wow. So, I mean, you want to still talk about Rock Roman, or you want to get back into...
I just think that Rock Roman was always on the table. I don't think that they moved the event from Minnesota to Vegas to just say that they had a WrestleMania from Vegas. They could take WrestleMania and put it wherever the hell they want. This was a big match. It's something that The Rock has wanted. It's Las Vegas. It's a big fight feel. Him and his cousin are absolutely going to do big business together.
And listen, this match,
this match might not happen. I mean, they might, it might not happen. Who knows? But I am under the impression and will remain steadfast on this, that Dwayne The Rock Johnson is going to be involved in WrestleMania 41 one way or another.
And they want the match to happen. I think, just like we're talking about, maybe erasing a record for who and whatever. I think The Rock and Roman know this match is on the table, quote unquote, head of the table, and it's big money. And if you can just make that match happen, you can relax, and the pressure is not so much you've accomplished so much in the bloodline. Like, this is the last real piece that hasn't been touched, because after that, you can have your Jacob Fatu versus Solo. You can have your Jacob
First
versus
of all, that's
Roman.
happening. Jacob Fatu and Solo Sikoa is more than likely going to happen at WrestleMania.
Right. And imagine that, Bill. Jacob versus Solo, and you got Roman versus The Rock. That's huge.
Yeah, I don't want to go over there and grab my notebook, but what I will tell you is that I believe that this year's WrestleMania is Cena Cody. We have Jay and Gunther. We have Charlotte and Tiff.
Tiffany.
I believe there's going to be something that happens to where we more than likely get Rhea and Becky. I don't know how we get there just yet.
I was hopeful we get Rhea and Roxanne.
So, could be. And I'm almost more than 99.9% positive that we are going to get Liv and Raquel winning the tag titles either at Mania or before and defending them at WrestleMania. So again,
against potentially Io and Asuka.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people are ignoring Punk and Logan Paul. I think there's a possibility there. And then everyone's like, well, where does that leave Seth? Well, how about Seth and Sammy?
And you got Drew still in there. KO and Orton will probably have something.
KO and Orton's happening, in my opinion. But I mean, how about Seth and Sammy?
And while we're at it, let's just thank the lucky stars that the biggest match of all time that could have happened at WrestleMania, which even though it already happened, is happening in Toronto, unsanctioned. KO and Sammy, because those two guys, I would wager, are way more thrilled that they get to have a really high profile match at this stage of their career in their home country, one-on-one, unsanctioned. This is, they had ladder wars in Ring of Honor. They've had crazy matches all throughout the world. Now on the WWE stage in their home country, they get to have a one-on-one match where there's really no rules. I think this is probably means more to them than any sort of WrestleMania match could, because they've had a lot of WrestleMania moments in the past and even had a one-on-one match together and tag team in the main event and won the world tag title. So they've done a lot. I think this match means a little bit more to them at this stage of their career. So I'm happy that it's actually happening. I know there's a lot of detractors out there that didn't and felt, oh, it's going to happen at WrestleMania. Okay, but you're forgetting Randy Orton. It's already ensconced in the story. So I don't see, and it's in an unsanctioned match. Gee, I wonder if anybody could interfere.
Sammy is not weak, Mitch Moore. Come on. You know what?
What happened?
Blake says,
put it up.
I don't know who can put it up. Put it up. Seth and Sammy is weak.
What do you, okay, Blake, what do you want then?
Whatever. Let's not fantasy book WrestleMania right now. I mean, it's fun.
We just did. You're like, I'm not going to go get my notebook, but here's 9 matches I think are going to happen.
My notebook doesn't have my projections for WrestleMania. My notebook has, what I think is possible in terms of the whole Rock thing, because everyone was sitting back and I was just with the timeline in terms of the Rock breaking down his movie stuff and that type of stuff. I don't have a notebook full of wrestling matches. I don't have time for that, unfortunately. But I will tell you, I don't. I will tell you that, again, I think Cena and Cody's happening. Could we get, a triple threat? Sure. And I'm steadfast on Rock and Roman. So
yeah, and I think you're right. Again, Rock just saying that and then putting out a press release saying that anything could happen when The Rock shows up at this time of year. That's how much more do they need to just say Rock is showing up and he's having a match with Roman Reigns? They could just flat out say it and people will still be like, you know what? I don't know if that's going to happen.
Yeah. I'm going to go to my Twitter and I'm going
I'm free of any
I need to read
chaos.
I want to, this was a day ago, and I hate doing this type of stuff, but people come at my neck and it's like, okay, but whatever.
Yeah. I mean, Whoa, Obafemi showed up on TNA.
Oh, what do you know?
Wow, look at that. Everything's happening right now. How about this?
All right.
Yeah, what do you want to talk about now? Everything's happening, Drew. This is an exciting show. Everything's happening all at once.
Yeah. Well, that's I love the Thursday time slot. Again, we'll have to wait and see, but I've been pretty steadfast on Rock still being involved. There's somebody who I talk to every day, and I'm not gonna divulge his name. But I talk to him every day, and we have both been in agreement that The Rock is absolutely going to be on WrestleMania, even when I was called every name under the sun, which I don't care. But I mean, at the end of the day, like, I think I have a decent track record in terms of like, I'm just not going to put shit out that just is garbage. There's got to be some sort of stuff.
Well, that's
it's debatable, right? But anyways, you know what?
Yeah.
Let's
you want to go back into some AEW, talk about how the rest of Grand Slam shook out before we can talk about Dynamite.
Yeah.
So Grand Slam, I had that up, but we talked about the tag match. We talked about what we didn't talk about yet is my prediction that didn't come to fruition. Buddy Matthews did not win the Continental title. Go ahead, Drew. Go ahead. Bask in your glory. You got one prediction correct. Happy for you. I'm very, very happy for you. But hey, Buddy had a little bit of an ankle roll. He wasn't really in the best headspace. Maybe it was just too much against him.
Yeah.
But,
I know
Grand Slam was a good show though. I felt I was hyped. I didn't really look at spoilers all day. I had no idea about what was going to happen. All I did know was that there like people
I just got a text that Elijah signed with TNA.
Yeah,
after
he was on. Yeah, he was on earlier in the show. Same with the Colognes.
Didn't he just work AEW?
He was in like a promo video with the Righteous one.
Okay.
Those guys.
Got it.
So I don't think anything was official.
All right.
So, I mean, TNA number 2. I don't look out. Can't say that. Can't say that. But TNA is doing a lot of good stuff. They're working with WWE, and TNA didn't go out of business, and WWE doesn't own them yet. So good for them because everybody thought it was terrible.
Yeah. The thing with Okada and Buddy, I like Buddy a lot. But Okada was never losing this match. Okada is going to, in my opinion, win every singles match that he's in. That's for the championship, the Continental.
Until Kenny.
Until All In. So.
Mm-hmm. Damn it! The ring was too small in Grand Slam. Why don't we talk about that, Drew? Come on.
Did it affect your viewing?
Yes.
Pleasure. All right.
Pissed me off. You know what it reminded me of was this hunk of junk. Starrcade 2000. POSPPV. Sucked. No, the ring was fine. In fact, it actually led to some more innovation with spots because of the tinier ring capacity. And I feel like we could see that with people diving to the outside. It really didn't bother me. As long as they were fine and like didn't have any major injuries, it really didn't matter to me. I thought it was interesting that everybody like jumped. Not like I didn't have a problem with people having a problem with it being tiny. I had a problem with them like assuming why it happened. Like, oh, well, they had to ship this or they did this. And like, unless you're literally there, you have no idea how they got to this ring or what happened, because at least they got a ring and it happened. It wasn't like a 12 by 12. Like, come on. It wasn't that big of a deal. No. It wasn't that big of a ring. Nope.
It wasn't.
But
and
it didn't detract from the show at all.
No.
Let's just get that out of the way.
No. And the thing for me is that like watching it, I thought everything came off well. The only thing that I thought was a little, different was it seemed like that Brisbane brawl, a lot of the stuff took place outside of the ring, which I get, but maybe that's because, maybe some of those boys in that weren't used to working a smaller size ring and they didn't want to take the risk of getting hurt. Really? I don't know. I wouldn't think
I thought the match was supposed to be outside of the ring.
I think it was. I said I think it was, but I'm just saying that was the only thing where I was like, okay, this is a little bit like there's nothing going on in it.
But to me, okay, well, and I know what you said, but like if they had a 20-by-20, do you really think that would have made them go in the ring even 5 minutes
Probably
more?
not.
Do you think it really would have?
Probably not.
Because to me, a brawl signifies that, hey, 4 of the other matches on this card are going to more than likely be in the ring. So why not have this one 95% out of the ring? That's how I kind of looked at it. So, but yeah, I thought it was a good show overall. I really enjoy the international crowd. They really had the moment of the week with Cope and singing his theme song back to him, which was really cool. And I'm glad he got that moment. Of course, he lost. Big shocker there. So it looks like what you had to the foresight for, Cope and Mox at Revolution, is not only happening, but I do think that it is time Cope could win that. But the real question that I present to you, Drew, is when, not if, but when does Christian screw over his former best friend and tag partner and cash in the contract that's in that dented case there? Because I wanted them to have a ladder match. Well, when Copeland first came in, and they kind of teased certain things and they had matches, but now we're at the precipice of a world title feud with Edge and Christian. Like, it's crazy. So where do you see that lining up?
The way that Copeland lost at, Grand Slam Australia, I thought to myself, there is no way that Copeland's not getting his comeuppance and he's not going to win the championship at Revolution, because it was just a beatdown. And it's happened before, but man, this was a beatdown. So, and you got to figure there's a payback coming for it, because he's got to get the one up. Otherwise, you keep losing like that and you kind of diminish your value. So could we see Copeland and Christian feuding over the world championship? I think it would be interesting if Copeland ends up beating Mox and then the Death Riders send Christian out and basically be like, take care of this.
Or they just beat Cope's ass and Christian just takes it anyway. Ultimate opportunist, huh?
Could do that too. Yeah. I mean, there's many ways here, but I'm going to stick with that. I believe that Copeland could be a heavy favorite to take the championship off of Moxley. If he doesn't, he doesn't. But it seems like that's where we're headed, I think. Just by the story they're telling too. I mean, Copeland said he's going to take out the Death Riders one by one before we get to Revolution. So it's interesting.
He's running out of time.
Interesting.
And I'm kind of, I don't know if you really think, and I would agree that Omega and Okada are set for a collision course, then I don't know if we'll get that Cope Omega world title match, because you would assume Omega would win and unify the international and continental, so he wouldn't be going for the world. So in that regard, who could Cope go against? That's where I think Christian does end up taking it, and who knows who could face him after that. But I'm almost more curious to see what would happen with Mox, whether they continue the Death Riders after he's not champion. Like, does that just dissipate? Does Marina Shafir even show up anymore?
That's a good question. That's a good question. Like, what happens after Mox does lose the AEW World Heavyweight Championship? And is that championship in the briefcase?
Well, what else could be in there? The Winged Eagle?
A ham sandwich. I have no idea.
Just a gold light, Pulp Fiction style.
Could be.
Yeah, could be. What's your favorite Tarantino movie, Drew?
Kill Bill.
1 or 2, or just you got to watch them both?
One.
Just 1. Yeah, I really like Pulp Fiction. I
like Pulp Fiction too.
Yeah,
I like Pulp
Kill
Fiction.
Bill is wonderful. That's a hell of a.
Now you got me.
Wanting to look up the list.
Yeah, because I might have missed one. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood was good. Django was good.
My buddy knows every word of Django. He's probably watched that movie 1,000 times.
Better watch himself. But Django's a good one. Inglourious Bastard's a good one too. He's a very, very good director.
Well, he's only done 9? He's only directed 9, and he's going to do 1 more, I think. Reservoir Dogs, of course, is the OG, and that was, I think that was a wonderful movie as well. So Hateful Eight, man, yeah. Not too bad, Mr. Tarantino.
Yep. We'll have to wait and see, though. That Revolution card is stacked.
Let's get into it, because I put out a tweet and it got shredded, to say the least. But I probably should have clarified, to be fair, but I felt people could look through it and realize what I was saying. And I stated that AEW Revolution is like comparable to WrestleMania? And if not, like what would you think it's comparable to? Now, I didn't. Now, here's the thing. I didn't put it in the context of what I should have, which should have been in regards to Revolution. Every single year has delivered. Almost every match has been amazing, and there's been a really, really special highlight at almost every single Revolution. And WrestleMania gives you that. Now, I understand All In is the stadium show, and that's more of what it is. But I felt that, like, you know, Double or Nothing could be your WrestleMania. That was the first real big show that they had. But All In was also the first one outside of being called AEW. But to me, Revolution's always had a stacked card and delivered. So that's where I came with that. So what if, and it doesn't have to be WWE, but any sort of comparable pay-per-view to Revolution, what do you think it could be?
And you know,
some said Money in the Bank because of that ladder match.
I don't hate how people make these comparisons for the PLEs and the pay-per-views and everything else like that. I don't hate it. I think you're all entitled to your opinion. Do I believe, you know, it's interesting, right? Because since AEW's existence, All In was the show that kicked it off, right? But All Out was kind of their big event. They made it their big event every year. You had Danielson and Punk debut there. And it was, you know, their quote unquote WrestleMania. Okay.
Well, Cole. Punk was on.
He made his Rampage. In-ring returns. I'm sorry.
Right. Against Darby. Right.
So
still a big deal.
Yeah. His first match back in over a decade, I think it was, right?
Yep.
So again, I think All In obviously kicked it off, and All Out was kind of their WrestleMania. And I think they have moved past that, truthfully. I think they viewed All In now, and they kind of kicked All Out to the curb, and they viewed All In as kind of like their big event. It's a big international event. It has been since its inception, since AEW, you know, took it over. The first two All Ins were overseas. So you know, for me to make a WrestleMania comparison, I will tell you that Revolution has had some really, really, really good cards. Sting's retirement, the Iron Man match, I believe, took place between MJF and Danielson. I also believe that MJF, I could be wrong, but I'm almost positive MJF and Punk, didn't they have a really good match at Revolution?
Yeah. So I'll run through the main events of each. The first one was Jericho Moxley world
big
title
match.
But I believe that also had that tag match with, was it Hangman and Kenny versus the Young Bucks?
Maybe.
For the tag titles. So, I mean, people thought that was like one of the greatest tag matches in the history of pro wrestling.
Yeah, Punk and Max had a dog collar match. Wasn't the main event, but it was a dog collar match.
MJF and Danielson, 60-minute Iron Man.
Yeah, I mean, listen,
you know, like,
I understand where you're coming from because it's March. Yeah. WWE normally doesn't have an event in March, truthfully. You know, the Chamber is normally February, and then they're kind of off for March. This year, they're doing it a little bit differently because normally it's January, Rumble, Chamber, and February-ish, March, or whatever. But
yeah,
so this, I could see it. I could see it. I don't like to compare anything to WrestleMania because at the end of the day, WrestleMania.
I know,
WrestleMania.
and I don't either. But I just like, for sake of banter, of, you know, if you could compare one. Now, someone put Super Brawl, WCW's February pay-per-views, and they always had pretty stacked cards, you know, but they were in the middle of random. Yeah, but like that's where I kind of felt like, because throughout the years, people would say Starrcade was WCW's WrestleMania. But in years since, Eric Bischoff has been like, nah, like Halloween Havoc was our big show that they wanted to plan to each year. It's all about perspective and what you think is, you know, the biggest stage at certain times. And whether it's in March or December, you know, Revolution's always had a great card. And I liked some people said Money in the Bank because they had the Face of the Revolution ladder match too. And that gives you, you know, some high quality stuff leading into the future. So
I'm going to let AEW be AEW, but if I had to make a comparison, I'm going to go with All In the past 3 years because it's the biggest venues they possibly could get.
Oh, to WrestleMania. Yeah.
But I will tell you that I've enjoyed Revolution.
Yeah.
And I've been approved for the Elimination Chamber. I've been approved for Revolution. I plan on doing one or both. We'll have to wait and see, but I look forward to Revolution on pay-per-view for sure. gonna be a good one.
Absolutely. Yeah, let's talk about it real quick. So the pre-show already has Big
2-1
Boom
USA.
AJ.
2-1 USA.
Whoa. Big Boom AJ making his AEW in-ring return. Who knows who that's going to be against? And let's all hope the Rizzler can heal up from being guest timekeeper last time. He got injured. Did you read that?
I did.
That's unfortunate for the Rizzler.
Yeah,
but he was at the Daytona 500, so he's making
the Rizzler.
making moves.
I saw the Costco crew was wearing AEW hoodies. That's a
yeah. Well, they had to make good from that snafu during the Royal Rumble weekend. Not good for the optics.
No good.
Not at all.
No.
Will Ospreay, Kyle Fletcher in a cage match.
Going to be
like that. Like that's ridiculous.
It's going to be a great match. I'm here for
it. What do you think happens off the top of the cage? Because something will. Do you think a Spanish fly?
The thing with AEW is you always get your money's worth on pay-per-view. And this, the steel cage match is perfect. Is this Will's first in AEW? I believe it is.
Cage match?
Yeah.
Probably. There's not that many cage matches. I can
you're
recall
like
Cody and not with recent history, Drew. It all gets muddied. Two companies going at it all the time with the big cards and okay. I don't know, Drew. I don't think Will Ospreay has been in a cage match. I think that's why that's why I'm like, what the hell is he gonna do? Because clearly he's gonna something off the top of the cage is gonna happen. That's what this whole thing is built for. But will it be a solo move?
Well, if you're watching this, don't do that. Don't do that unless it's absolutely necessary.
Do a Spanish fly. Take both of you off the top of the cage.
Jesus. Again,
just don't land like Cope.
That cage match, they could have done this in Australia. I am so happy they're doing it at Revolution. I'm here for it.
Takeshita Omega international title. Well, assuming, but I mean, come on, that's who it's gonna be. MJF and Hangman, they had the most captivating segment this past week on Dynamite. They had one match for the OG Dynamite Diamond Ring back in 2019. I think that was their only match they've had. So that's true OG AEW. And these two guys, these are born and bred AEW guys. And I love that they are, at the forefront of story without having the title involved. And you would think that the winner of this could be de facto number one contender going into Dynasty. That remains to be seen. But I just, those two guys, they make magic on the mic and they're going to make magic in the ring, I would wager. Mox and Cope, of course, AEW World title, and Momo versus Monet for the TBS title. So 5 matches on the main card, plus the Big Boom match, of course. First event for AEW at the Crypto.com arena. That's pretty cool. LA is a pretty big deal. It's bright lights. So I'm looking forward to seeing how they pulled it off. What were they in Greensboro last year? And now they're in LA. They're really making the rounds. And I'd like to also mention Double or Nothing getting out of Vegas.
That was a big announcement. Yeah.
And they're going to, and I liked how the announcement already was kind of made on social media, what have you. But Justin Roberts to the live crowd says it. And I thought that.
I thought that was very interesting. That's something we really haven't seen. I don't think they've, I think they might have done it for the Wembley Stadium show or something.
Something major, yeah. Sure.
But I thought this was, and listen, Double or Nothing's another one. That's a major event for AEW. And I thought that was really cool that Justin Roberts did that. For those who didn't catch, the press release or anything else like that. Again, I'm very excited to see what AEW does in Phoenix. I thought that venue last night, they were in Phoenix last night. They'll be in Glendale for Double or Nothing. I thought that venue last night was great. I like what they're doing.
Yeah.
I stated this many, I think it was over a year ago. I said they need to stop playing the bigger buildings, stop booking the bigger buildings and go to smaller venues, understand their marketplace. And realistically, they're doing a good job with that. The fans are more lively because you could hear all of them. And the buildings are they're different. People crave different. That's why AEW became what AEW is. That was the whole genesis of AEW because they were going to be different. So continue to be different until you can always go back to those big arenas, Juice.
That is the best thing is you have to realize it is okay to play to your strengths. I will always go back to the Paul Heyman quote for ECW. I don't care, if we're running out of a parking garage at 3 a.m. on one random station, we want to be on. So accentuate the positives, hide the negatives. If you can't get a 10,000 seater filled, go to a 6,000 seater and pack the whole damn thing. What pride are we holding on to? Because TV optics are going to be the ones that people look to. And that's what, and now in the age of social media, especially if you get a smaller building and pack it, all you're going to see are people taking photos of the whole building being filled instead of trolls taking photos well before the show even starts of, an empty spot. And that's not fair, first and foremost, but you can negate that by going to a smaller venue, nipping it in the bud ahead of time. And again, accentuating what you do have, which is rabid fan base, and you go to a smaller venue. Now, this venue I put out there, I think Raw was most recently there this past November. They put about 14,000 in. I don't see why they can't do 10 to 12,000 for Double or Nothing.
There's no hockey team there anymore. There's no basketball team. So.
Yeah, so why not? Why not fill that thing out? And Double or Nothing is a show that I don't like. It's almost like the Royal Rumble. Like they can sell Double or Nothing no matter what. It's like their first real big. It was their first pay-per-view under the AEW banner back in 2019. So this is one they can sell no matter where they go. So I think it's a smart idea to put it there. And the rumor kind of floating around was that AEW is holding pay-per-view locations close to the vest because WWE, it's not that it's wrong business practice, but they're going to put their stamp where they need to. So I think
it's smart. I think if what I'm hearing about Money in the Bank, if that's true, I mean that's almost direct competition for an AEW show in July. So we'll have to wait and see.
What are you hearing?
I just think that Money in the Bank is going to be, there's a possibility that Money in the Bank is going to be stateside. We'll have to wait and see.
What has it been? Where has it been recently? Wasn't it both
London and Toronto?
I was going to say the last two have been not in the States.
Now, things change and they could absolutely end up international, but from everything that it seems from people that I've spoke to at On Location, and some other people, it seems like Money in the Bank is probably going to be stateside. So we'll have to wait and see.
I mean, I could take a educated guess on where it could be, but
Go ahead.
Could they do it at AT&T Stadium?
No.
They're
not doing it. They're not running Jerry's World.
Why not?
Listen, WWE's white hot, but I don't think they get 100,000 people for a friggin' Money in the Bank, dude.
Tarp it half off.
I mean, they could. I mean, they're not getting 66,000 or 67,000.
It's just how you brought that up made it seem like, well, if they're running it in July, they'll run it in Dallas.
We'll have to wait and see.
But
that's all
okay.
We'll wait and see.
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to be in Pittsburgh though, right? You would tell. Okay, well, maybe one day we'll get a PLE again. We had Payback.
Goldberg also said that his retirement matches. Run, whatever.
I think he's on this shirt.
Oh, Jesus Christ. He is right next to Booker T, Scott Steiner. I think that's Kevin Nash.
That's right. Starrcade 2000, baby.
Goldberg talked about how his retirement match will be sometime in the summer, I believe.
In the summer.
So, since we're talking about that type of stuff, I think Goldberg probably works, which I stated, I think it's in Saudi, and then he could have another match somewhere else. So.
Well, SummerSlam's 2 nights, right?
Yeah, and I do believe there'll be no Rock at SummerSlam this year because of the Scorsese film.
I would say he does a Saudi and then maybe that another match, but with 2 nights of SummerSlam, I think it's very conceivable you could get Goldberg on that card, and it works for him, it works for them, because trying to fit him in on a 1-night card. The person asked earlier about the women not being happy with booking there. If you get Goldberg on a solo night, and all these other talent aren't getting on there, I think they might have an issue. So putting them on a 2-night show, I think is probably best for business.
Yeah, I would agree. I would totally agree.
So let's pivot a little bit. We had a little bit of AEW talk. I did just mention Obafemi on TNA. Mm-hmm. Did you catch much of Vengeance Day, Drew?
I didn't. Unfortunately, I didn't. I did catch the main event. I thought that it was cool that Stephanie Vacour and Julia and Jordan Grace had a moment. Yeah. I liked that a lot. God. I did. I liked it.
It is it's crazy how stacked the women's rosters are across the board. Every single company, it seems like there's a wealth of talent, But yeah, just quickly, I thought Vengeance Day was a fun show. I really like. It's crazy. People will always talk about NXT's developmental. Okay, well, are developmental brands going to other arenas and having their own little PLEs, and are they having their? It's like mini WWE. Like they're doing things on a big level for them, but it doesn't have to be a 60,000 seater, And they're all very interesting shows, and that's a talent. Like I said, Julia, Bailey, Roxanne Perez, and Cora Jade in the main event. Come on. That's, we also saw Ethan Page defeating Javon Evans. A strap match. Trick Williams lost to Eddie Thorpe. So he's kind of getting a push now as well. Obafemi took out Theory and Waller. And now, so let's transition to that.
I love me some Obafemi.
Obafemi really confronted by Moose. And now the TNA NXT partnership is really on fire.
Off and running.
Now on Thursday, Obafemi's on TNA.
Yeah.
You'll love to see it. And I just love that interaction, especially because TNA was based out of Orlando forever, and now NXT is based in Orlando. And it's just like,
for now.
It's fine. Yeah, for now. Because you've said they probably will be touring more outside of just PLEs, right?
A lot of people I popped
NXT,
into it. Yeah, I popped into a space today because I like to do that. I like to listen.
I listened to that one for a little bit. It was fun.
Yeah. And it was, they were all like, I don't understand, TNA and NXT, and that the NXT is not developmental. Well, no shit. It has been developmental for a lot. And they're like, NXT's lost the plot. And I'm like, I can respect your opinion. You think they lost the plot. I get it. But I'm telling you this right now, NXT, and I've stated it for a while, is going to be a major WWE's third major touring brand. And that Evolve stuff is going to see a ton of ID and some other, talent that needs work. But NXT is
speaking of new title belts. WWE ID is getting their own belt. Like, what are we doing?
I mean, I guess.
It's weird to me that, like, again, wrestling is based in kayfabe, but it's now like you're winning a championship for you're winning a championship, but it's not for a brand,
right?
So the ID champion. Can only ID talent win it? Can you lose it to someone else that's not ID? And because they won it, they are ID? It's just confusing to me that you can be given a title, but it's not.
Here's what I think the ID championships are going to signal. It's going to be like, okay, they won the ID championship. They hold on for a little bit, and then those people are going to go to NXT.
Right.
WWE has set up the baseball farm system. AAA, AA, single A. And then you can go play around in the Cape Cod League or whatever. And then the major league is WWE. So Raw is SmackDown, and that's what it is. WWE has done the baseball mindset where they have numerous feeder systems.
2-2. Canada scored.
Who?
Sam
Bennett. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just
the only reason I ask is I picked Crosby to score a goal tonight. So we'll have to wait and see.
What do you mean you picked? You mean you put a wager?
Yeah.
I mean, of all people to score,
gamble responsibly.
This would be the night, considering the Pens.
Considering he needs it.
He needs it. This is where he performs the best, is this international play. I mean, he's still one of the best players in NHL anyway, but on international play,
I believe the odds were
and don't worry, Drew. Remember, Crosby scored
plus 350.
He won the 2010 Olympic gold with the gold medal goal to win everything. So this game's not over. If it gets to really crazy time, you might cash out on that bet.
We'll see. Let's finish this up so we can watch the third period, eh?
Well, we still got some time, yeah. So we talked about Vengeance Day. So that also led to, man, WWE, give them shit for certain things, but when they come into NXT on Tuesday, and we all know the biggest segment's going to be Ricky Starks signing his contract, but they haven't said his name yet. It took so long for them to get to that payoff, and I thought it was so well done. Because he comes into the ring and then he's interrupted. And then Ethan Page is like, who, by the way, kept his name and came from the same place. Mm-hmm. And he's like, I know who you are. And they have a great banter. And then, Javon Evans comes out. Then they go away. You still don't get the name. He's going to sign it. And then Wesley interjects. He gets deposited. Name still not revealed. And then only after he signs does the camera zoom in and you see his name, Ricky Saints, which I kind of like it. He's from New Orleans. It makes a lot of sense. He still has Ricky. There have been worse names. Other people have come back. Like, God, Walter.
Yeah.
Do we even know who Walter is anymore? No, because the person made the character.
I'm
not
under
the name.
Yeah, I'm under the impression that this is probably for NXT. I think if and when he gets to Raw or SmackDown, he'll be called Ricky Starks. I think this is temporary.
Do you think there's any issue with Zoe Stark? Like having the similar name?
I don't know.
That was something.
And they could absolutely keep this as Ricky Saints. They absolutely could. But I don't, I think Ricky only had and Ricky probably only wanted to be in one place, and that was WWE. But at the end of the day, every situation's kind of different. So for me, WWE probably looked at this and said, absolutely. But, I don't know if we're going to go with Ricky Starks. I don't know if we're going to pay to license your name. We might come up with something. So that's just
too. Yeah. So that you don't think it wasn't like a block from AEW. It was more like WWE's not going to pay.
No. I just don't. I think WWE knew that they wanted Ricky. Ricky wanted WWE. There really wasn't any other options unless Ricky wanted to go do the independent scene for a while. But I think, this is their way of saying, hey, we could market and promote your name our way. And Ricky, it's close enough. So who gives a shit, truthfully?
Really? That's my thing. It's so close.
Who gives a shit?
Dark Saints. And again, it makes sense. He's from New Orleans. Like, other names have come up that have been so not relatable to what they came from or where they're from or where they live, any sort of heritage, and nothing. There have been way crazier names that have been thrown out there. So this is not one of them. And I felt, good quality thing. And again, the person behind the character is going to make the character who they are. They're not going to be defined by a name change. So Ricky Starks has done a lot of great things, but I'm sure Ricky Saints will want to elevate that to another level, So I'm looking forward to seeing what he's got to go forth in NXT. Good Lord, next week, where the same venue that AEW just ran, a month or two ago in Cincinnati.
Well,
great venue.
Stacked, huh, for NXT?
Yeah, the Hardys are going to be on that show. And you get Lexis King versus Moose for the X Division title, and I love how Lexis King was like, it's TNA's most celebrated title, like not the world title. The X Division title put them on the map because it was no weight limits. Samoa Joe, anybody could win it. And I love that they played up on that. And then, you get a tag match, Javon Evans and Ricky Saints versus Ethan Page and Wes Lee. So I don't know. I think it's a stacked card. And NXT's, again, not developmental. They are on a major TV network. Not major, but it's still TV. It's not a streaming thing. So I like what NXT has been doing, and we'll see how it goes going forward. But I really didn't have too much else on the docket. My only other thing was, did you catch any of the LFG show?
I haven't. I need to. I haven't. Been busy.
Right. Because all I've seen is, a couple of pieces of where Taker shredded somebody, Bully shredded.
I saw the Bully Ray. I saw the Bully Ray video that was circulating. No doubt about that.
What are your thoughts quickly on?
I don't like to comment on clips because realistically, 9 times out of 10 they're very much like used for sensational purposes. But go ahead.
Right, and I'm not necessarily meaning clips, but he did bring up and I know we don't really discuss star ratings and stuff, but he kind of made it seem on Busted Open this past week like it doesn't matter, or it's not for everyone, or things should not be decided by the quality of match. And again, it caused another discourse of what's more important. And to me, and we've had this discussion, even if a guy, let's just say it, Dave Meltzer says this is 5 stars. Sure, if I watch the match, if a lot of people watch the match, it's very conceivable that a lot of people will say that is a great match. Whether it's deemed 5 stars or whatever is subjective. pro wrestling is another form of entertainment, just like anything else.
I'll be honest with you. Like, I don't care about 5-star matches. Like,
Well, what I'm saying is, if you think it's a great match, what rating you would give it or not is kind of irrelevant. If you think it's great, it's your opinion that it's great. It shouldn't matter.
I've stated this since day one. You could have all the 5-star matches in the world, and Dave Meltzer, this is not a shot at you. You do what you do. You've made it is his opinion. It's your opinion. You've made a very successful living off of it. But for me, professional wrestling, sports entertainment, I think the only thing that matters is making a connection with the crowd, having them buy into everything that you're doing. And if they could feel it, if you can make yourself like, I could feel it through the television, that emotional stuff, and not only, live, but on TV. If you can make the crowd feel, whether it's good or bad, you could take your 5-star matches and you could go away with them, because at the end of the day, making it with the crowd is the only thing that matters for me.
And see that, but that's my thing.
Good wrestling match is obviously part of it, but I mean, how many 5-star matches did Hulk Hogan and Steve Austin and all these other people have? Even Taker.
And to me, I could look at it. I could call something a 5-star match, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's great in ring only. Like, a great story could mean a 5-star match to me. It's an opinion. It's a rating system that you can have. You don't have to have. You could just say it's great. You could say it sucks. And I just don't. I hate when people stand so firm on one or the other. Like, I think story is very important. I think the match is important.
If you can make the crowd feel something, you're going to get paid.
Based on, even if it's me selling my arm or me cutting a promo before the match, as long as the crowd buys either, that is the point.
The one thing I saw when I was doing stuff with WWE at buildings at times that they were in and stuff like that, Vince McMahon would sit ringside with other people. He would stand ringside with other producers and whatnot, and he'd watch, and he would make sure that they understood that this is what makes the money. If I need to be able to see that on the camera, and he would point to the stuff behind him, or he'd point to the hard camera or whatever else. Nobody was in the building, but Vince said, if you can sell me here, you'll sell me everywhere. Something like that. I don't know his exact words, but he always made reference to your face. I have to be able to see the emotion, the, distraught. I need to be able to see the pain. I need to be able to see everything. Because if I could see it, great. That would make you money. Right. And that's what it was.
And to the detriment, of Rey Mysterio back in WCW, Eric Bischoff felt, with a mask on, you can't necessarily get that to a level that maybe some people want. So that's why they took the mask off. But he went to WWE, didn't matter. Because again, his in-ring, but his charisma, regardless, elevated him to a level where, mask or not, my in-ring, I have charisma, that's the size of the fight and the dog. Like, that's all. That's how charisma is, I think, probably higher up than selling or having a great match or cutting a promo. It's believability of, I want to do this because, whatever reason you're wanting to win, that resonates with a lot of people. You could goal you set for yourself.
Yeah, you could be the best wrestler in the world. There's no doubt about that. And I'm not talking about CM Punk. CM Punk is a good wrestler, very good one, but man, he connects with that crowd. He might be one of the final people that has the crowd that just are diehard, loyal, want to see him, who's a game changer. Truthfully, whether it's ratings, merch, all that other stuff. Him and Cody, those two might be the last of that breed. We'll have to wait and see. Jey Uso right now is on a upward trajectory. And I mean, everyone's like, Jey's not a great worker. Who gives a shit? Who gives a shit? Jey's not giving you 5-star bangers. You see the crowd, you see the crossover appeal. I understand the wrestling has to be a vital part of this, but not everybody needs to be Bret Hart.
It can be passable, and passable is not negative. That's not a negative thing. Like,
was Ric Flair a great wrestler? Ric Flair was a good wrestler.
Yeah, he was pretty. He was pretty
but I'm asking you, Ric Flair, like, if you compare him to the people today, Ric Flair
is not comparable,
right?
No.
But what I'm saying to you is that Rick had personality, he had charisma. I mean, the guy had buckets of it. Buckets. He had a great match.
He bled buckets to again accentuate stuff like that.
He could have a great match, but man, Rick talked you into every building. You wanted to see Rick get killed.
Or you wanted to see him overcome like a
Correct.
Vader or an Eric Bischoff. Like,
Yeah. Dusty Rhodes wasn't chiseled out of granite, but man, people loved the American dream. It's because
it was relatable.
And he talked people into the building, man.
Steve Austin, you want to beat up your boss? This is the guy for you. That's literally all it took.
Steve Austin was a very good wrestler. He's very much like Ric Flair and Dusty in terms of very good. And then he had the neck injury and had to change everything. And I think that took him to a different level.
He became a brawler.
Yeah.
Because watch some of his WCW work with Steamboat and Dustin Rhodes and Rick Rude. And there's a lot of great stuff there. But when he has the injury and becomes this brawler, but that really solidified who he was. And it made the character that much more relatable because it's like, oh, you just want to go home and drink beer and beat up your boss?
Who can't?
Here's the guy for you. Yeah, come on now. So,
all right, you guys.
Perfectly relatable.
Yeah, I agree. You guys and girls got questions? Get them in right now. We'll answer them in the order they are received. Let's do this so we can get down the road. Been on for an hour and 30 minutes. This has been our most highly viewed episode, so I appreciate it. We've had over 700 people in here, so thank you very much.
Hell yeah.
On a late Thursday with the USA-Canada hockey game going on.
I know. Pretty crazy.
Question 1. What do you think about the news about the women of WWE are being upset with their booking? Let's start there. I can understand the frustration that some are feeling, especially Natty. I saw some of that circulating. If Natty was promised some things and they aren't being delivered, I can understand it. 9 times out of 10, a guarantee is as only good as the what is that line from Tommy Boy?
Oh, God. Isn't it the I can sell you a butcher? I can't.
Never mind. A guarantee is only as good as the person that's giving it to you. And I understand that you might have been guaranteed some things or promised some things, you know.
I can do the, I make car parts for the American working man because that's who I am. And that's who I care about.
But I could understand and see their frustration because it seems like, you know, there's only so many television time for so many people. And that's why a lot of people were like, why did Tony all of a sudden just release the superstars? Because at the end of the day, how much television time does WWE have for all these stars? That's the company's biggest equity. So let WWE figure it out. These guys don't want to be there.
Right. Now you said Tony. Did you mean Triple H?
No, Tony Khan. Why did Tony release Miro, Black, Ricky?
Right. And I thought that, but we were also talking about WWE because they just released some folks as well. That's all.
Right. But I mean, none of the, no offense to those people who were released, but they're not of the caliber of the 3 men that we just released from AEW. Not to mention AEW had a bunch of pushes for these gentlemen and then it was stopped. So again, television time is the greatest asset that a company could offer you wrestling wise. And go ahead. You could take these 3 men and make sure that they get adequate television time.
Right. And I was also going to just adding about the women thing. It just seems it's for me, my perspective, this seems like Charlotte was out for so long. She comes back and she's automatically winning the Rumble and getting a main event match. And who knows, she'll probably win. And it's like, okay, but she's earned this. She's done it. She is the Cena. She is the reliable. She is someone that they can count on. And she could just as easily lose to Tiffany Stratton and make Tiffany Stratton a bigger star coming out of WrestleMania. The match hasn't happened yet, people. Just because she's in the match doesn't mean she has to win. Do I think she's going to win? Probably.
Yeah, I mean,
but that doesn't mean Tiffany can't become a star regardless. So
yeah. Question 2: why can't we have Liv versus Rhea versus Io with Liv wins it? I mean, you could. I'm just telling you. I believe that Liv and Raquel are winning the tag titles either on Monday because I believe they have a tag team title shot or very soon. Scott Steiner, Big Papa Pump, was good. You think AEW releases more people than they don't use or want out? I think there's a 43.5% chance that we get some more AEW releases.
Wow, you heard it here first, people.
Willie Sustain, aka Billy Bomb. Hey Drew, I hear Josh Alexander is going to AEW as of last Friday. Is that true? Billy, I don't know that to be factual. I know that Josh Alexander is represented by the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega, and I'm trying to think of who else. Hangman Page's agent. So And that agent also represented Scott Hall and Kevin Nash back in the day. So
yeah, I don't know.
Like an AEW guy to me, but I would love to see Josh Alexander in NXT. I think it's
I'd like to see him anywhere. I think that he fits in a unique mold where either WWE or NXT or AEW. I don't think he necessarily is an extra character to a spot that they have 50 of. I think he's pretty unique in that realm. So I think he adds value. I would lean AEW, and that's where people have kind of been leaning towards in general, of like AEW being that landing spot. But I wouldn't rule out an NXT. Like we've been talking about, moving pieces are happening all the time right now. It's that spring cleaning thing. People get released, people get a new opportunity. All these things are coming to fruition. So it'll be interesting to see for sure. I could see him having great wrestling matches in AEW. That's where the best wrestle. Let's see it then. Let's see Josh Alexander in there. I wouldn't mind to see him against a lot of the guys that are in there.
Yeah, I'll say this in terms of Josh Alexander, because a lot of people were like, "Oh, why not WWE and anything else like that?" WWE has a direct deal. They're kind of a loose partnership with TNA. That's where Josh is. So why would Josh do a farewell if he was staying with WWE or going to NXT? He wouldn't have to do that. He could just pop up.
Sure, but he could make but you could make it look. It's all the work, Drew. If he wants to, he wants to do that, he can. But no, I more likely than not, he'd go somewhere else that's not WWE. So we'll have to see.
Yeah,
I don't know. Someone put is The Rock going to make the Chamber a 7-man match? No.
I maybe
anything can happen to the World Wrestling Federation, but I don't see it happening.
I mean, Barry Bloom's his agent, so I would believe that Josh Alexander is probably going to end up in All Elite Wrestling, and it seems like Barry's representing some other people in AEW, and it seems like they'll be sticking around for a little bit too. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, it seems like the right spot.
Yeah. Was Double or Nothing moved because of Mania being in Vegas this year? Catherine Reed. Catherine, I would probably say that it's a big factor. I mean, that market is very much saturated now by WWE for that week. I think it's smart business for AEW to take that event out of Las Vegas, Nevada. I think last year was a struggle for them.
Corey, the Eagles won the Super Bowl, and I chose the Chiefs to win the Super Bowl. That is exactly what happened. So good night and good luck. Corey asked, I have a question. Who did Juice pick to win the Super Bowl? In addition to that, who won the Super Bowl? I'll hang up and listen. Yep, that is what it is. I was happy for Saquon.
That was good.
Kenny Pickett got to kneel down and get a ring. That was fun. So good for those guys. See if they can run it back.
What state in Australia do you see AEW coming to next year?
When they just run the same place?
I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. It seems like they did well in
all indications they did well. Do they dare attempt a pay-per-view there? Or were we just not doing that?
I don't know.
How about anywhere outside of All-Star Weekend? Can we just have it on its own day?
Like Mitch Moore, Drew, is it true you're going to start dyeing your beard now that your grays are short? Hell no. You will never catch me dyeing anything.
Come on. I want the Hogan dye or the Jeff Jarrett mega yellow blonde dye.
My wife says she likes the grays. So I'm going to leave it.
Just for men.
That'll
Drew.
Never happen. It'll look like the wall behind me. How black that would be. No.
Okay. No. Rugged Drew. Be the Marlboro man.
Love you, Juice. You're off my list now on the Blake. Well, I was the only one who picked the Eagles, and I picked them.
You can't fix Blake considering he's a Cowboys fan. He'll never agree with you, Corey.
Blake stinks.
He sucks.
Blake stinks. Where was it? There was another one here.
The Jets even made a championship game before, or in the same time since the Cowboys last made one.
Jets went to back-to-back AFC title games.
Yeah.
09
and they lost both of them.
Yeah. All right.
Drew, do you want Justin Fields on the Jets?
I mean, if it's $3 or $4 million, low risk, sure. I'm not overpaying for him.
Well, would you rather a free agent or would you or trade, or would you rather a draft guy for the Jets?
So the Jets, I love how we zoomed out for this. Sit down. The Jets obviously have a desperate need at quarterback. are the Jets in a rebuilding phase? It absolutely seems that way. But I mean, it's kind of a half-ass rebuild. I would kick the tires on Kirk Cousins if he becomes available. I think that
Who do they pick in the draft?
If you're smart in the draft, you take the best available player. You don't take
where are they at? Are they top? What
7.
Are they? Oh, 7. Okay. Hey, the Raiders are 6. There's a shot they might get Shador, which I'd be interested in.
I doubt that highly. I think the Raiders would have to come up for that one. So.
They would. They're nuts.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see.
I like what they've done with their coaches.
But. I think the Jets will probably kick the tires on Justin Fields. I could see maybe Russell. I would go after Kurt. I would probably look at some other options too in the veteran market. I'm not going after Sam Darnold. I'm not going after Geno Smith.
It's exactly what the Steelers are doing. They don't know if they want Russ. They don't know if they want Fields. They should just take Fields. And if
Rodgers.
They do, I only want to see it because it would be chaos. And if they suck, great. Then they get a higher draft pick next year when they have the draft in Pittsburgh.
Sure. We'll have to wait and see.
They just, there's too married to we hadn't had a losing season in 19 years. We also haven't won a playoff game in 8. So pick one.
Yeah. We'll have to wait and see. I'm going to just sit back and I'm tired of losing. So
I'd prefer to lose I adopted the Raiders in 2010 and all they've done since me being a fan has lose. So I'm looking forward to maybe a change at the guard with Pete Carroll. And
I do want to say this because somebody brought this to my attention today. A lot of people, and I put this out video form, but a lot of people were dogging on AEW for the whole, like, this feud is over a robe. First of all, if you're going to have that energy, I urge you to have the same energy for what CM Punk and Drew McIntyre were feuding over. And I dug it.
Yeah.
You want to know why I dug it? Because it made something.
It made friend of the show, Phil, got into quite the...
Okay, it's Phil. Okay.
Well, people were dragging... Yeah, me too. But they were... They were concerned with what he was saying because he was all over this, and he didn't maybe necessarily get why the robe was so important, or maybe they didn't say it. I don't know.
That's okay. Phil's not a bad dude. He's not malicious by any means.
No,
there are some times where I think Phil looks at some of my stuff and says almost the exact same thing. But other than that, I think Phil's a good dude. Is
that a shot at Phil?
No, it's not. Not a shot at Phil at all. I think
Phil's a good dude. It was a shot at Phil.
I think Phil's a good dude, but I will say that it's not just, I didn't know it was Phil. I saw a lot of people. If you're going to complain about the robe, which I said, I hope this feud becomes more than just the robe, but I'm going to say that I really, if you're going to have that energy, you need to keep the same energy for the other company when you had it over a bracelet. And for me, I dug what Punk and McIntyre did eventually, and I didn't care because it was part of the story. And Ricochet and Swerve's part of the story is this robe, and it makes sense.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, things have been fought over that aren't titles all the time. Like, what are we talking about? But I had noticed that I think Phil questioned it, and then people were quoting him and like coming after him hard today. So that's where I felt that he was one of the bigger proponents of that discussion.
Yeah.
So.
All right, last one. Are the AEW Mike Bailey rumors true? And if so, are the visa reasons? Yes. I believe I could say this. I believe Mike Bailey Speedball is 100% going to AEW. So
give me more. Again, we're the best wrestle. Mike Bailey is pretty damn good. He's pretty good. He's been around for I say a long time, but I mean, quite a bit all over the world in the independent scene. I know he was pretty big in PWG. Again, I like looking back at the earlier PWG shows in the early 2010s. That's where a lot of the talent ended up go to the AEW.
First of all, isn't that somebody else's laugh? And if you don't know, it's Jadakiss.
Yeah.
That's Jadakiss's laugh.
Yeah, and Ricochet's doing like 5 different versions of the demented guy that, from Degrassi that shot Drake, and guy from Scream, and like he's playing a lot of different characters. He's doing his best character work ever and it took him to going to AEW to do
Listen,
it is wild. I love it.
I gotta call a spade a spade. I thought Ricochet's work has been very, very good in AEW, but I thought that promo last night was, and Nana saved the shit out of it. That's just me.
Okay.
I thought Nana was very, very good, and I thought Ricochet was okay.
You look, we had The Rock having breaking news by tweeting into the during the show. Drew is critical of something on AEW. It happened during the show. Look out! Sound the alarms. Clip it.
Clip it. Clip it.
Yeah.
All right, Juice. Excellent, Juice. The laugh is on. There you go.
Thanks, Catherine. Very nice.
Ospreay versus Bailey.
Yeah.
I don't know much about speedball. Not into the speedballs.
Isn't that what killed Chris Farley?
Probably. I don't know. Listen, I enjoy cocktails. I enjoy alcohol here and there. I'm not going to sit here and tell you I've never smoked marijuana in my life because that would be an absolute fabrication of the truth. But I'm not into drugs, and I know caffeine's a drug, and I know that alcohol's a drug, but I'm not into drugs.
But marijuana has had a taboo for a long time, and I don't think it's really there anymore. I feel like it's way more. I would be more offended if you smoked cigarettes than.
I don't smoke cigarettes.
Good, but I'm just saying, like
smoking backwards,
especially that come at you on Twitter. Also, the same people that stack marbles on the freeway.
Bang, 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 bang. Don't have two wooden nickels to rub together.
Man, you just have. Where do you have a book of these? Is that what's in the notebook? You should publish it.
Bing bang. First of all, Adam Cole's a gem, but this guy
is
an absolute idiot. I don't sneak diss JD.
Here's the thing. If Drew wanted to shred him, he would just do it. He's not. What are we talking about? Go ahead.
I want to leave this up for a quick second because you're an absolute moron. Number one.
What if it was actually Adam Cole?
How funny would that be if he was on this show? Talked to Jerry, okay?
Whoa,
not JD.
whoa.
I don't talk to JD. I talk to Jerry. So you and these stupid, ridiculous comments are just hysterical because they make no sense. And you have no idea what you're talking about. Do yourself a favor, go DM your God, who is JD, and ask him if me and him hate each other, because we don't.
Man, come on. You guys it hasn't even been a year since you guys did a WrestleMania tailgate. Yep, you guys hate each other.
Listen, there are some things that JD does that I don't approve of, but I'm not his dad.
Fine,
I'm not his dad. I'm not his guardian. He can do whatever he wants. He's a big boy.
Both adults. And again, we had this conversation before. Just because you don't work together or do a show doesn't mean you hate each other. Why does it have to be one extreme or the other, though? I know you don't, but I'm saying, why is that the sentiment?
I hate nobody. I hate absolutely nobody.
If we didn't work together, that doesn't mean we hate each other. Like, why does it have to be, well, they're either you hate Junk Springsteen. Yeah, my alter ego.
Yeah, first of all, I don't even know what sneak dissing is. If I, like Drew said, if I have something to say, I'm going to say it, and I'm going to tell it right to your face. Anything I would say on here, I'd say right to you.
Well, yeah, because this could be clipped and it's out there already.
Well, and there's a lot of people who talk a lot of noise on Twitter. A lot.
Oh, yeah.
Half of them, they talk into the void because it's just like, who are you even? Like, who is it? Like,
user 9684331 exclamation point backwards. Like, I did all these characters and
life is so much better when you enjoy it, truthfully. And
again, that's what this whole show is based on. Pro wrestling is supposed to get us out of the chaos of the real world.
Life is enjoy your life, man. Enjoy it. Just go enjoy it. Yeah. That's it. For me, I'm Andrew Vidala. That's Juice Springsteen. Juice, tell everyone where they can like, subscribe, and follow you.
Follow me on Twitter at JuicySteen. I'll talk a lot about shows like this, Starrcade 2000. We'll banter and go back and forth with me and Drew every now and again. Every Friday we got the Juice Box. Pretty much, same type of stuff. I review what happened in the past week. We got Elimination Chamber predictions next week with the guy who won the Pool Party Gaming contest. I shipped his shirt out. It wasn't a shirt for him, though. He got a Yeet shirt for his toddler, which is pretty cool. So they were watching the Royal Rumble. So that's who won the shirt. I'm pretty sure as long as he's free next week, he'll be on the pod doing some chamber predictions. So that'll be fun. And hopefully Mr. Eisenberg will be in there too. But outside of that, catch me on here every Thursday. Loving this. Week 7, Drew. Week 7. Can you imagine?
Yeah, it's only growing from here. I got a text. Sneak diss, basically passive aggressive shots.
Oh, you didn't know what that meant?
But because I don't do it. Thank you, Billy. I don't do this. If I have something to say, I'm going to say it to your face.
You knew you could pretty much assume what it meant. It's definitely a rap
talking behind
term.
Someone's back.
It's a rap term. Assume, right? Sneak dissing is like, I'm going to say everything about someone, but one, I'm not going to acknowledge them. And even if someone asks me, is this about them? I will also not acknowledge that. So
listen to me. Go DM your God and ask him if Andrew hates you or if Andrew sneak disses you, because he will tell you no. Andrew,
I hope he says yes.
All right.
As a matter of fact, I do hate Drew.
I don't. Do I agree with all the shit that he does? No, I don't. But
who cares?
Not for me it's not for him to care about me and him to care about me to care about him and vice versa. It doesn't matter. We're all doing this. That's it. It doesn't matter.
You do one show for 43 weeks and all of a sudden you guys are glued to the hip forever.
I know. Well, it is what it is. People loved it. They can't get over it. I get it.
Yeah.
I'm at Andrew Baydala. Make sure you follow me. I'm on Twitter, X, whatever. Just having fun. That's it. Like, subscribe, and follow. Make sure you guys hit that bell for notifications when we go live. You will know we're live every Thursday. Right. Episode 7. I can't wait till we're at episode 77, 707, 7007, 777, baby.
We'll talk a little chamber next week.
Yes, right? We will. We will preview the Elimination Chamber. The only thing I will say is that the wife's got she's got her claws in me about a vacation, so we'll have to get that done. So maybe a little hiatus for a week. So we'll have to wait and see.
Okay, all right, that's fine.
But other than that, I thank you for the love and support. Thank you guys and girls for making this all a possibility. I love that you guys love to hear what I have to say, because at the end of the day, I'm just like every one of you. So
this is by fans for fans. So
that's it. Thanks, Juice. Thanks, Catherine.
Thanks, Drew.
Thanks, Ben. Thanks, Tay-Tay.
Corey, Blake.
And thanks to this knucklehead Adam Cole, Big Papa Pump, Scott Steiner. Thanks to
Did
Frank.
You imagine?
Thanks
you never know who's going to show up. We had Sean pop in for a comment last week. We got Adam Cole this week. Who's possibly hopping in next week? Good Lord. All the stars come out for Drew and Juice.
You never know. That's it. We're out. Go enjoy the third period of the USA-Canada Hot Game 2-2. See you later. Good night.